you hear a lot of programs talk about having tiers, talk about specifically having, the direct action of what they contribute. We will, in some ways, return. We sort of echo back in terms of level of resource and content and such. I'm curious how you've thought about, because I know, like, again, to be clear why I asked this question, I hear from a lot of folks, they want to create free assets. They want to create like self-actionable items. I like the in a box statement. I believe business model in a box, campaign in a box is a fun way to phrase it.
Yes.
How much then in terms of a mix, right? I'm thinking about, I'm a new marketer or at a business or just even in my career, and I'm trying to figure out how much do I create that's evergreen, that sits out on like a knowledge base of some kind and that my partners can just consume at their own will, versus how much do I need to be specific in terms of both the tier-based content you were describing and or company directives and things that are aligned to what the business is trying to do in terms of an outcome. So I guess the synopsis of that very long-winded question is, how do you think about division of content, division of asset, division of marketing? And specifically what I mean is how much, if we'll say out of 100%, right? How much of it is self-taught, self-actionable content, in a box? I'm doing bunny ears for those that can't see me. That sits on a shelf that they can take off and use, and how much is specific to tier, contribution, action, business outcome?
Yeah, I think this is a great question. And I think it depends on the company. So specifically here at Constant Contact, that's one of the things that I've been brought on to help out with, along with what our team is focusing on, is what we call self-serve content. So self-actionable, whatever that sort of looks like.
Totally.
And I see it a lot on LinkedIn, but I really like it when people say, do things that aren't scalable first to see what works, to see what's going well, and then create things. Yeah. And then create things that are scalable. So right now, especially with these like revived partnerships, partner reignition, as you called it, back in the day, is that like what things are going well for like a series of partners. And it's just like they're running with it. It's going well. Okay. Can we create a template out of this? All right, great. We're going to create a template out of this. Or like you want to do a webinar with us. Here's like the check boxes of things that we are going to, what we can commit to, what we expect from you. And obviously we're going to take on a majority of that work, like 75% Constant Contact, 25% the external partner, whatever that sort of looks like. So I think that it depends on the company. There are some companies that do really well already with that, of having more of those self-serve motions for their partners and self-enablement. But for those that, are still working on that, including over here as well too, just being able to see what is going well with like your top partners. And that can be quantitative or qualitative. It can be like, hey, like these 3 partners are doing extremely well. They've increased revenue by XYZ amount and percentage. And so we're going to make things more templatized in these, specific marketing channels. Or it could just be qualitative. I also like to have conversations with partners of like, that was a really great webinar. What went well for you? These are the amount of leads that you received. Here's the amount of revenue we received. So, how can we, create that again and like have a pattern and process? So it's not so much heavy lift every single time, but kind of just like, all right, we already know what to do. And we just check off the checklist and we're ready to go. So, yeah.
I love that call out. It's good feedback too. I talk a lot about, or perhaps I try to talk a lot about documentation and the function of taking and capturing, to your point, right? The idea of what worked and what didn't, and how do we take that specific thing that did work and double down, and obviously do less of the things that do not.
Yes.
When you've gone into these partners now and you're starting to learn the different qualities, qualifications, and abilities of each of those different, sounds like tiers obviously is one of those criteria sets. How are you then determining how much energy and effort is it? And I think I know the answer, but I want to be clear here. Is it revenue based? Is it how much they lean in, like a partner engagement score? I've heard that more and more. And in particular, because I want to say it again, because I love saying it out loud. I love that you said, do unscalable things early, right? I have heard that in more so, I think in the last like 3 to 5 years, more and more in my conversations. Yeah. I think people are realizing that like you can't come into everything with a playbook and try and run the playbook over and over. And you just got to do the hard shit early and do it like yourself or with your peers. And then as you figure it out, then it's more scalable. So my actual question then is like, in terms of weighing where you put your energy and effort, are you using revenue as a goal as a marketer? Are you using partner engagement score of some kind as a marketer? What are the things that you're KPIing on so that you can point to your contribution to the greater org and say, look, we're doing something, it's valuable, it's driving some sort of an outcome?
Yeah, I think that is definitely one of the top questions as a partner marketer that we ask ourselves and other people ask as well too. I think it's a mixture of art and science. I think that as marketers, I'm very much of the belief that we have to tie everything that we do to revenue. It's very, very important, especially currently, to be able to tie the work that you're doing to revenue, even if it's partner marketing influenced pipeline or things like that, or we did this XYZ event and we had a lift in leads in this amount. Just being able to quantify the work that we're doing from a revenue perspective is important. The other side is I do agree with that partner engagement, partner leaning in. And that's what I called it, like a partner being excited to work with us. There are some partners of ours that are bringing in buku bucks, lots of revenue. They're killing it. They don't want to do co-marketing. they have no interest in actually like, creating and like sort of content and working together in that realm. And that's okay. There are just going to be some partners that just don't have the bandwidth, the resources, enough team members. And if they're doing well, they're doing well. So kind of just like leave them alone and focus on the ones that are bringing in maybe a little bit less revenue, but they're excitable. So how do we get them, from like a 6-figure, sort of ARR to a 7-figure ARR? Like, how do we get them to that next level and focusing on those partners instead as well?
That's great. It's good feedback. Yeah. So we've got a few more minutes here at the end. I'm curious, are there any other themes that you've seen in your early days and months, in this role? And we keep talking about constant contact because you're new there-ish, right? We'll say, which I think is a good reference point, but just over your career in partner marketing, what are some of the pitfalls, the things to avoid? I always love to ask questions like this. I think it's important for the listener to hear the good things, which you've talked a lot about, and I appreciate your respective, super valuable insights. Let's go with the bad. What's the things to avoid? What should folks not do? Is it, spending too much time with X? Is it actioning on Y, but we know that that's not going to get a immediate ROI? What are some of the learnings you've had over the last couple of months here and certainly in other career points that folks should avoid and watch out for?
Yeah, I think that especially when I first started out in the partner marketing space, versus now, and I'm still learning, I'm constantly still learning, is just to be able to always tie the things that you're doing to your team's goals, like your company's goals, your business goals, in terms of the work that you're doing. Even if it's something as small and tactical as this week I've been updating landing pages for our partners. It's tactical work, it's mundane, but it has to be done. How does that tie into the overall team goals, the overall company goals? And it helps you to have that sort of bigger picture of like, strategically, the work that I'm doing is making an impact, and this is why. I think that not only just as partner marketers, as marketers, we get in the weeds a lot of these tactical things that we have to do on a week by week, day by day basis. And then when it's time to, talk to our managers or talk to higher ups or showcase your end of your work, it's like, okay, what did I do? Oh, I did a bunch of email newsletters. All right, what does that mean from a storytelling perspective? What did that add up to? What did that help to achieve goal wise as well too? And so that's something that I didn't focus on as much, the strategic side of the house when it came to partner marketing. And I think that's important for marketers to focus on as well too.
Brilliant. Let's end it there. That was fantastic. Thank you so much for the insights and the feedback and the ideas. If folks want to get in touch, where do they find you? How do they reach out?
Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Charlene Strains. You can find me on there.
Brilliant. I love it. All right, everyone, go send all your ideas to Charlene. She's going to help you change the world. Thank you as always for listening. I appreciate your likes, subscribes, comments, and the feedback that I get as always is just, I'm so grateful for. Quick anecdote, but I was in person for an event here just a couple of days ago, and I had two of you listeners come up to me, which was a surreal moment, and say you enjoyed a certain episode or give me really good feedback. I got high fives, I got handshakes. It was wonderful. So please know that I am just grateful for all of you checking out the show. And as always, if you have ideas, guests you want to introduce me to, I'm looking for brilliant folks like Charlene here to have great conversations with. So again, thank you. And until next time.